Hmm. Isaac Newton might have something to say about this. Surely this will pull it, right? Oh my god! It pulls it... kind of stupid effectively, actually. So I made something very similar to this. A balloon, and this is actually a missile that holds its angle very precisely. It uses a breadboard to control it to slowly move the nuke. So all this does is this very precisely modulates that missile, turns its angle. I built this the moment they released missile breadboards, and you'll see it's very precisely moving its angle so that it stays at a consistent elevation and speed. Honestly, I made this entire video to make the 99 red balloons joke, because that's a song about someone mistaking a little red balloon for a nuclear bomb. So I thought it'd be funny to do this. And I also put that song in the video knowing full well, no, my balloon! I put that song in the video knowing full well it would get demonetized for it, but it was worth it for the bit. I want to see if I can make this viable. Because it's a goofy weapon, honestly, and it's losing a lot of potential speed and survivability just to be a meme. So I wonder if I can make this really viable. Regardless, our goal here is to make an actual, efficient, good weapon. So the question is if we should use medium or large missiles. I'm going to say medium. It's going to be a little bit more vulnerable to active defense, but I don't think you can beat the agility and the thrust output per cost put in. Okay, strangely, if we separate, it orients it just completely wonky. Huh. I want to see how much... Hello? I forgot to put a harpoon on it. A harpoon is critical for our harpoon-based weapon. I feel like the guidance being sea skimming should let it kind of... What the... Okay, why is it snapping? Alright, so I figured out our issue. Break the cable at max length will basically say, if we've reached the max length of the missile, we're gonna cut it off and disconnect. What can also happen, if your missile is just way too powerful and starts pulling too far, it'll just break. Like so, this break cable means disconnect, but it can also, like, snap, be destroyed. We're gonna crank the thrust output down, all this stuff, give it a fair chance. All right, let's see how it handles like this. Okay, so we have an issue of our winch is not powerful enough to keep up. And so if it goes like, if it starts pulling over length, it will snap. Like there's no way to stop that. So this is now, I don't know why down here it says we still have power. We're chewing through all of our power. Are we? Wait. Were we? Were we using power? Alright, I got this slick little setup. Now. Here we are. It says we're not using power. Oh my god, this is dizzying. Okay, it'll be 10 less, but that shouldn't affect it. It really doesn't appear to matter. Huh. We don't need power. That is absolutely massive. So if we start it gently enough. Oh, never mind. I'd set up like a spreadsheet to start collecting data, and turns out we don't need power. I'm gonna put some connection struts here just so they can, essentially so the repair bot can rebuild this instead of having to rebuild all these and then go bit by bit by bit. Now all the repair bots can swarm and just rebuild the gantry all at once. We'll just slightly bump out this piston I put here named gantry that is actually connected to these 2 rubber beams are now actually on that piston. We're going to give this the tiniest delay. So, What the fuck? This is purely a curiosity. Does the missile stay attached if it separates? Yeah, I doubted it. That's just... Why would you want to launch a harpoon and then detach the missile that the harpoon is on? That's not something I blame the developers. A weird edge case that I don't blame the developers for not thinking of or caring about. Now, unfortunately, there is not really a reason to have multiple nukes ever. It's just unwise. Like, multiple nukes is less efficient than one nuke, and then having multiple one nuke. Even, like, nuke ships? Like, if you look at actual kamikaze ships, like here, let me look. This might be the most expensive nuke kamikaze ship. And it's got a lot. It's got 5 total. And that is, again, that's like the most expensive kamikaze ship. We look at something reasonable, like the Grey Talon or the Scarlet Dawn ICBMs. The Scarlet Dawn nuke vehicle costs 6,000, and then Grey Talon, 4,000. And I believe these are just, these are just one nuke. It's really not worth it to have more than one nuke, and the Sin Eater is an exception, and that is comical overkill. Unlike with ACBs, we can't figure out if it's been separated or not. But will this see? It does. Okay, so essentially, I know they're both in God mode, so it doesn't matter, but that's still kind of scary. So this separator says to make the whatever child block or child vehicle, call it ICBM. So if we're called ICBM, then we've separated. And that's how we're going to figure it out. So if there is a friendly vehicle, and the friendly vehicle's distance is less than 50, this basically means no fire. So we can only fire if A, we're called ICBM, meaning we've launched, B, we've collided with a vehicle, and we are not close to a friendly. In fact, I'm actually going to combine these, so this is just, is the safety off? If we're called ICBM and we're not near a friendly, the safety's off. If the safety's off and we hit a vehicle, kaboom. Also, if the safety's off and we're moving slower than 15 meters per second, kaboom. That basically means we've gotten stuck, we've ran out of fuel, etc. Now let's see how, first off, let's see how fast this is moving, because it should be, it should be plenty fast. Christ, 80 meters per second is actually nuts for what has, like, absolutely no fuel cost to it. Okay, that was a dramatic cinematic slowdown. That my whole game froze when that went off. So, among other things, that will just prevent these from sitting around and being annoying and being stuck in the water, dead in the water. So it'll be like a nice, it's a performance saving measure, and also if it like lands short, it'll just go off in the water. Hope it'll hit him. Now the question is, how hard can we push it? It seems to act a little bit silly. It seems that it can keep up fine, but it just... gets dumb. How heavy's the separator? Oh, it's 10. And I think this one's 10. And this one's 10. So the only imbalance is the annoying thing of that even though ACBs are 10, breadboards are 15. It's gotta be a little bit weird. Breadboards have less drag or anything? They do. Which is actually kind of unfortunate for us. Half a second after this, can we just drop off our face? So if we go and paused, and then we drop the gantry. What the hell? Unfortunately, I don't want to have a bunch of gantries sitting around littering in the place, but it's so much less drag and weight to shed the gantry. You know what? Let's be scientific about this. Let's be smart, and let's test two side by side independently and see which one of the two flies better, if dropping the gantry actually helps. Hopefully these won't lock onto each other. Neither of them dropped the gantry. I fixed the breadboard error on the one that was in flight and not the one that, you know. What the hell? Something is terribly awry there. I'm going to completely ignore that. And ooh, huh. Okay, so the one that launched without a gantry got stuck there. Let's try this again. Even with it getting stuck, the one launching without the gantry, or the one shedding its gantry, moves like significantly farther. What if it sheds its gantry a little later? Oh my god, that is a very notable difference. Alright, good thing I kept this little setup here. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little bit goofy. After a slight delay, and we'll undo it with a very similar delay. We're going to rotate spin blocks named Cutter to 90 and see if we can just snap that thing off instead of having to deal with the separator, which is expensive, and clean up the... What? Perhaps these delays were too similar. We're going to give it a much longer delay just so I can see if it works. It works. Didn't do the damage I wanted. Okay, come on. This should do insane. Even on a stationary target, it should kill. Dumbass buzzsaw. We're gonna make sure this is invincible. How on earth is this not taking off the... So the other issue is that even if I do successfully detach the thing, what's stopping like a repair tentacle from repairing it? Which is a minor issue, but it might be an issue. We'll use the bigger one. Alright. Bro, what? Okay. Okay. So simple cannons just fire through something. Alright. How many does it take before it actually does damage? Okay, so it looks like it only goes through one block. Which, weirdly enough, is actually better for us, because that means this thing gets to be, you know, nice and safe, and we keep that alloy strut there, meaning it, repairs more quickly. Rapid fire. Finally! Okay. Any side effects? Any, you know, collateral damage? No. Thank God we can be done with the disposable gantries. So also, quite importantly, these are some of the cheapest... I think these are the cheapest weapons to fire in the game. 1 material per shot. Like, it's actually crazy. So, that means instead of costing an extra, like, 80 material apiece for the separation mechanism, it costs 1 material apiece to shoot it. So I think this is the most efficient nuke launcher. And I think this might genuinely be... Like, not that I can design. I think it might be the most efficient nuke launcher. Look at that. Now, the question is, would more ramp time save this? Oh, it's working beautifully. Oh, it is working beautifully. It's awesome. So 1800 is enough. 2000's enough. I'm just gonna, you know, try to hone in on a perfect value. You know what? I think we're not gonna get greedy. For consistency's sake, I know 1800 works. We'll leave it at 1800. Not that much. It's also almost exactly 2,000 meters range, which is a solid range. Super stupid over-designed munitions decoration. And now, something I like to do. There we are. Did it fit the size? And now I just gotta scale everything down. Now we're just scaling these all down to a 1/5. So it balances. There we are. Now we've got like the long, thin version here, but we can actually, I kind of actually like it looking a little bit thinner. It's kind of cool. So now I made it, built it at full size, collapsed it as much as I could. Yeah, now that I shrunk it all down, I can essentially just hide it. There we are. It's nicely hidden in this exhaust. Alright, everything's been a little bit exaggerated. There we go. Oh, it's red. It's annoying. In fact, that is so annoying. It's this. And we hide the original mesh. So now, when it disconnects, it won't turn red because that's not a missile controller. Alright, we've got this incredibly goofy, stupid ship. What? No, it went invisible again. Don't tell me I spent all that effort on... Well, it'll be visible on here. And it's visible to you. So that's what matters. So I was hoping it would be, Damn. Yeah, no, it seems to just turn invisible if the gantry's broken, regardless of whether or not it actually, regardless of the fact that it fired beforehand. I almost wonder if a longer delay could possibly fix that. No. Okay. First combat test. Let's see how it works. What? No. No! Okay, I think I know how to fix this. I could swap one of these fuel tanks for a breadboard receiver, which actually does not affect our duration. The thrust duration is down to 20.4, but our lifetime is 20. Okay, so we want it to be 5 above the target, but also minimum altitude of 25. Sorry, 20. So this is the altitude we want to be at. The altitude's less than 15, we're just at 20. Otherwise, we're at 5 above the altitude. And so our offset should be the altitude minus our desired altitude. Or sorry, the desired altitude minus our altitude. Let's see how this works. So if I check this breadboard, wherever it may be hidden. Alright, we need to go up a little bit because our target is too low. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. Okay, it didn't work. I still hate the camera update. Why are you going down? What? Like it's actively going down. Yeah, so it should be aiming at 20. Why is it going straight down? Hello? Alright. Sure. Go 50 above our target. What? Of all the things to not work, the target offset doesn't work? Unless is there gonna be some dumb shit like it only works if all three things are put in. No X offset, no Z offset. Does this work now? Oh my god, that was it. There, okay, now it's working. Just fine. Annoying. Now we're going to fire it again, this time with the gantry removed. Okay. I've figured it out. If we blast the gantry off, it disconnects the breadboard, which makes sense, I guess, but it is unfortunate. Alright, well now that we don't have it, we can keep the munition decorator connect. God damn! That's shooting off the gantry was the issue. I didn't think it would flip and wig out like that. It's so hard, you see? It moves around, so it's gonna be hard to hit. Alright, there's one last thing we gotta do. Alright, so our minimum altitude right now should be 20. It doesn't look like it, 20. And once we get really close, God, that is dizzying. Once we get really close, it should drop it to 0. So it should be 0 right now? Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Oh, but it's still hit! This one still hit. Look at that sick, like, curl it does. It's actually really cool looking. Oh. Oh. Yeah, because I edited the breadboard of the copy. Oh my god. So now it's time to fully automate this. If an enemy is within... We're gonna have a minimum range and a maximum range. Beautiful. Beautiful, and then as fast as our repair bots rebuild this, it should launch another. Hello? Uh-oh, did it not wait for the missile to repair? Oh no! Alright, and there we have it. And it reloads it pretty darn fast. Oh my god. And now, the real question, how much do each of these ICBMs cost? Because these have like... They're harder to shoot down by normal guns, like AA guns. They're easier to shoot down by CWIS by a lot. Not actually that much cheaper. Not as much cheaper as I would have hoped, to be honest. I was kind of convinced that these were going to be super cheap. Nope, they're about as much as a normal ICBM. Just a slightly different propulsion. A significantly different propulsion. Well, they look cool. And that's what matters. And, well, they're actually pretty darn effective. Alright. Now, well, its guns are active, unfortunately. It's going to be significantly less effective because it can get shot down. It won't be. It'll miss, though. Yeah! Alright, let's fully repair this. Now I want to see... Well, this thing's working at full capacity. What happens to it? Alright, let's see what happens once Sea-Wiz starts actually shooting at it. Damn. Damn! Okay. You know what? I tried to make this as cheap as possible. I made it about as cheap as possible. It's still not enough. Unfortunately, it can't compete with just a normal thruster ICBM. It's cool, it's funny, I like it. It's better than the balloon. It doesn't actually, like, work. I'm actually not sure if this can be fired more rapidly than normal nukes or not. Because you have to wait, either way, you're having to wait for repairs. This one waits for repair bot repairs rather than, you know... Then again, you could have this on a sub-object, have this on a little floating sub-object, and then use repair bots. So I think this would be repaired faster, in fact. Damn! Okay. I think this was sadly a bust. No. No, it's not a bust because it's cool. It's not gonna redefine the meta. I haven't reinvented and upgraded the Nuke drone. But gosh dang it, it's kinda cool. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any other suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. But regardless, hope you enjoyed and have a nice day. Take care.